Let me just start this up and welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, I'll lead off. So I've been in civil construction or civil infrastructure. It's got a few different titles since I left school in 1981. So I was 17 when I started doing this. I'm up around, well, over 30. I'm sitting on the 40 actually. So it's, but I left Thornbury High School in year 10. Didn't really have much of a clear direction on what I wanted to do. School wasn't. I was okay at school, but I wasn't strong on the work ethic side. It just wasn't for me. I just wanted to get out and make some money and get out there into the real world. So I worked as a service station attendant down in Brunswick doing afternoon shifts, and that was a bit of an eye opener about just a lot of things really. But along the way, I was applying for different jobs without really knowing where I'd end up. But I ended up with City West Water or Melbourne Water as a trainee in construction. So that was a 3-year course, which they offered at the time. And I was basically labouring on site, just pick and shovel and all that sort of stuff, digging shafts and a bit of concrete and stuff. And they ran us through a little bit of trade school training, some survey stuff, just to learn the ropes, a bit of plan reading. And I did that till I was about 24 years old. And then I sort of ran my own business for a few years, building tennis courts and pool fences and stuff like that for a few years. And then virtually over the journey, just picked up a few tickets and worked my way into the sort of main sort of stream of construction. I went from power line construction sort of stuff after that, and basically worked my way into working in the Burnley Tunnel and on the cut on that when they built CityLink, on the Baldy Bridge, and just I've rolled through those type of projects since then. So for probably the last 30 odd years, I've been on the bigger stuff, and it's been a pretty interesting ride. At the moment, I'm a senior supervisor on the level crossing removal project. So that's the new Coburg and Moreland stations and all the landscaping. We've just finished that off, and at the moment we're Bell Preston, which is 4 level crossings and 2 stations, and Glenroy. I don't know if any of you guys have been up that way, but it's a large hole in the ground. We're putting an underground station in the middle of Glenroy Shopping Centre at the moment. So they're 2 pretty exciting and different projects, but that's my current thing. So I've got a couple of years to run with those ones at the moment, and then we'll see what happens after that. So civil construction really is the engineering and base works around roads, rail, bridges, tunnels, utilities, power line construction, underground power, gas, anything you can think of that requires excavation and detailed sort of engineering, concrete and steel is what civil construction is broadly. It's a very broad industry. It goes from everything from fixing a leaking water main in the road or building a retaining wall in someone's garden, all the way up to building the Westgate Tunnel, really, and everything in between. So and I've sort of over the journey probably done all of those things at different times. When I was younger, I probably worked on the smaller things in people's backyards, building retaining walls or landscaping stuff, all the way through to sort of fixing leaking water mains and all that stuff. So it's one of those industries where you just continuously build on your skill set. So rather than go to a tertiary institution and do 4 years of uni, then to go out to be a graduate or an undergrad and build up your skill set, it sort of works in reverse. You get out there and you just build on your knowledge base just by experience and picking up some accreditations along the way, which helps build your employability, I guess. So yeah. So to build up as a young person starting out, and let me say that I think civil construction is one of the last bastions of an industry where you can go in with nothing and walk away with everything type of thing, if you know what I mean. So a small civil contractor will be looking for a young bloke or a young girl who's able to labour. So that's the pick and shovel, the hard work, wheelbarrows, barrowing concrete, barrowing mulch, lifting sleepers, and it can be heavy, hard work, particularly working for the smaller companies. The bigger companies are more automated. But it's one of those jobs where you you go in and you get paid what they pay you, you learn what you can learn. And once you've learned everything you can learn from somebody, I think it's just time to move on, and that's how you build up. And I think the idea of working on these major projects as a young starter is not really going to happen. It's about building yourself up through the smaller jobs. And it's not a bad thing because it actually enhances your skill set, because they'll give you more opportunities to do more things the smaller the place you're working at is. So to build up tickets, you really, the basic ones that you can build up over the first sort of 8 or 10 years, well, first aid level 2 is very much a required on all sites. They need first aiders. So it's a good thing to have in your hand. If they're looking at a position for somebody and you're up against a few other people and you've got a level 2 first aid, they'll say, oh, beauty, this young guy or girl's got a first aid ticket. We need one to be legally accredited on site. So then you can pick up things like skid steers, front end loaders, excavators, backhoes, etc. So plant tickets. Some of those are available through government grants, but once again, the smaller company you work for, the more opportunity you will get to drive and probably excel on those things, because it's all about time and experience. And then eventually you can work into project management. That's a long way down the track. You don't want to go there too quick anyway. I wish I wasn't there sometimes. and it is, you need a bit of initiative. It's always regarded. People who are managing a younger crew, or anyone for that matter, they love people who take the weight off them by being a motivated and self-starter. It's a sort of industry that starts very early in the morning, and if you're making enough money, you'll be working till late at night. So it's a big hours type profession. It can be, but you're out you spend your whole life out in the open, basically. So the idea of air-conditioned offices and all that, forget about it. You'll become an expert in the weather, because that's where you live. Okay, so I probably touched on this a little bit already about you pick up the main part of your experience on the job. You can improve yourself through training, but I think a lot of stuff, if you show enough motivation and interest in what you're doing, the people you work for will give you those opportunities, because they're looking for people to step up and take some of the weight off them. By I think it works like, you can call someone a labourer, but a labourer can be a completely multi-skilled person. They can have so many skills that it's just they can do absolutely anything, and that's what you should be aiming to be. If you want to make a career in civil construction, you should be looking to skill up as much as you can. And as much as when I said, once you've learned everything you can probably learn from an employer as a young civil worker, it's time to move on and go somewhere else and just keep building that skill set, because that's ultimately what makes you employable and attractive to employers. Getting along with people, it can be an interesting, can be a fiery industry. It's not too sanitized, so it's just people in the paddock, and it's not too. It's like people smoke cigarettes all day and swear and carry on and all that sort of stuff. As long as it can be a bit rough and ready, but I've actually probably enjoyed that. It's just, but that's just about working in with the group. There's some very good people in this game. It's been tidied up over the years, the way that the whole industry operates. As far as taking chances, that sort of goes back to what I said about feeling like you maybe have maxed out at one particular employer or opportunity, and feeling like I wouldn't mind having a go at building gas mains, or doing some Telstra work, or civil construction crosses all those things, and the skill sets involved, a lot of them cross right across from everything from building the Westgate Tunnel all the way to sort of fixing a Telstra pit and connecting cables and all that sort of stuff. And it's an industry that's getting bigger, not smaller. As the population grows, the necessity to keep building and upgrading the assets that we've got, we need more people, needs more water, more dams, more gas, more power, more mobile towers, more freeways, more train stations. So it's an onward and upward type of industry, and there's no reason why it won't stay that way. I think through COVID, I haven't missed a single day of work. I've gone to work every day, because what I'm building is considered to be critical. A lot of other industries, this is probably people thought they had a really good, safe job, and why wouldn't they think that? But COVID sort of fanned it out a little bit, but unfortunately for a lot of those people. But construction has just rocked on through, so been very fortunate in that regard. You're expected to work hard, but working hard also means working smart. So it's not about on the chain gang in the prison so much. It's about being organised, looking around, understanding what you're doing and the best way about it. And sometimes working hard means working smart. Where we going, Tom?
Sorry.
Was that it? We through already? Okay. Yep.
We are.
Okay. I'd like any questions you've got, you guys. Anything at all? Just throw it at me, and I'll see what I can do with it. But
Well, Jim, there's one in the seal. He's just got a question. Who pays for the additional training or tickets? When you want to get a skid steer ticket or anything like that, is that part of you paying for it, or does?
Well, I'm really at that upper echelon of construction now in the bigger end, so we don't do any of that. Employers, so there's three ways you can get it. You can go off and pay for it and go and get it yourself. You can look at some of the government quite often offers up training courses where you can go and get the basic tickets, and it's their shout. I don't know what the status of that is at the moment. Tommy might be able to do a bit of more background work on that, because a lot of companies get the bigger companies are required to spend a certain amount of their turnover on training, so they turn around and they do. I mean, I've never paid for a first aid course or just about every course I've ever done's been paid for by someone else, by one of my employers, or by the government. There's a thing called IncoLink in the building industry, which is a redundancy scheme where the workers get, I think it's $80 or $90 a week goes into the redundancy scheme. It's a transportable scheme, and it doesn't actually offer up any interest to the holders, like when I was one. So you don't get any interest on your investments. So you can have quite a lot of money tied up in it, but they just pay you at the base sum that's been put into you. What they do is invest that money, and that money is all put into training. So that's how a lot of employers pay for their training. They go to IncoLink, apply for put so many people through a riggers course or through some plant ticket courses or mental health training or whatever they require to sort of operate efficiently, and they go to IncoLink and they'll provide them with the funds to get that done. So that's there's a few. That's what I said. Your employer will go through one of those funds to find the money to get you trained up. The smaller companies probably won't be as switched onto it, but I think, yeah, Tom, I'm not quite sure where that sits at the moment because it changes from year to year a little bit. But I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities to get.
Sounds like that's a good answer, Jim. That was fantastic. I've got a question from Catherine. Do you know anything about construction management and how does it relate to civil construction? I suppose I've got a question on sort of project management side of things. Maybe Jim, can you explain a bit about when we talk about project management as well?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my background is actually someone gave me a shovel and said dig fast or someone else will do it. Probably exaggerating a bit there, but then you have, and so I'm on the physical delivery side. So I'm out there working with the people on the ground and the machines and the cranes and doing all the organisation on site. In equal numbers represented in the industry is the engineering team. So most of those guys will, civil engineers do all the technical side, create all the paperwork, all the drawings, plans, and all that sort of stuff. And then we're working with them, and we go out and try and build what's on the issue for construction drawings. So project management, by and large, is done by engineers as such, but they ultimately answer to us from a delivery point of view. So if you want to run a building site, you probably do a civil engineering degree, but you could also be just as equally responsible and managing that project, just coming in from the ground up and learning the ropes, because your knowledge base is a different knowledge base. They're both required to get these things completed. So there's a tertiary side of the industry, and there's a hands-on, construction side of the industry, and that's the side I come from. Is that the answer we were looking for? I'll probably, yeah. So if you want to do a civil engineering degree, you come as a grad, and you just work your way up, and you work your way up to being a site engineer, to become a project engineer, to become a senior project engineer, and then ultimately a construction manager. That's probably, if you're really motivated, that's a 15-year journey. With civil construction from a labouring point of view, building yourself up into a superintendent or a senior supervisor, that's also it's a long journey, but the the thing is that you get paid really well just for being on the site, on the bigger sites. But once again, you've got to make yourself the person they want, and that's by building up your accreditations and your tickets, and your experience and your motivation and all that sort of stuff. It makes you someone they want to look at. It's guys are moving around all the time. We have guys that I've worked with guys 5 times in 40 years. I mean, I mightn't see a guy for 10 years, and I'll just walk on and I'll just see him in a room and bugger me, here he is again. Like, we can't look at each other, and it's been so long. So it's such a big industry that people, they opt out of jobs. They go into state, they go overseas, they work in the mines. So a civil engineering construction sort of labouring type background with tickets and experience will also enable you to work as a FIFO worker in the mines, work on the open cuts and up in the Pilbara and all that sort of stuff. But you've got to start at the start, and start at the start is to get with a small civil company, say, who's looking for some young people who probably won't pay you a great deal, but you'll learn a lot in a hurry, and you can build yourself up from there, and then start looking at those opportunities to maybe go way out west and make a lot of money and all that sort of stuff. So, but it takes a little while, but it's quite enjoyable, and it's quite interesting. I've worked on things, and I'm 58 years old, so I'm working on the Balmoreland level crossings. We just finished that currently. We've just landscaped the whole thing, put in half basketball courts, a skate park. We put field gymnasiums in for people to stop. We put bike stations in where people can fix their bike, pump up their tyres. There's wetlands, and it's all fully landscaped, and it's really great. And I've just taken, probably reached a stage at times where there probably hasn't been much I haven't done, or the longer you do it, you probably become a little bit more, I don't know, blasé about what you've created. But at my age, I've just built one where I'm walking around. I'm quite really chuffed about what's been created for the community. I think the people are just going to really love this one, and it's going to just do a great, just give the whole area a lift, and just great for people walking and create all this open space. So there's that side of things too. I think you could process insurance claims in front of a computer all day for the rest of your life and never feel that. Whereas I think in civil, you can get that bit of joy from creating something special. I've done a lot of road widenings and all that, and at the end of it, they just jam up with cars, so I made good money doing it. I'm not complaining about it, but sometimes you just get that, you can get that special feeling from something you've been involved in and feel really, really pleased and proud about it. And I'm really enjoying these rail upgrades at the moment. They're a really good thing for Victoria. So it's just great to be involved in it.
Is there a lot of work around, Jim?
Oh, yeah. Well, so we've done about 50 level crossings across Melbourne now. I think there's about 40 more to come and more to be announced. You look at things like the Westgate. I'm only talking about the big ones. You've got the Westgate Tunnel, which has obviously got a few problems, but it's a monster project. You've got the Metro Tunnel work in the city at the moment. It's $11.5 billion or something. They're just doing the Northeast Link, which is going to connect Greensboro out with the Eastern Freeway. That's 13, 14 billion. These are just massive projects that involve thousands and thousands of people. And the Airport Link, which is also coming on now, which is just going through the design stage now, to award the first section of early works and start that one running. We'll probably run for 8 or 10 years. It's a big job. But from that point of view, the busier the bigger end of town is on these major projects, that means that there's more opportunities at the entry points. So doing a bit of gas work, or working with a water main contractor, or working with a Telstra contractor, or working with a landscape contractor, the bigger jobs are really sucking all the people out of the industry, which creates opportunities for people who want to enter. So, and that won't change. It's a big industry getting bigger.
And what about the opportunity for travel, mate? Well, not right now, but in a non-COVID type world, or
well, it's absolutely Australia's
vaccinated.
Look, civil construction is one of those things that it's pretty much the same the whole world over. So if you've got a good solid skill set here, you could be doing that job in Ireland, or you could be doing it in Germany, or you could be doing it in the Middle East. You can certainly be doing it all over Australia. There's no worries at all there. So you could, if you make yourself somewhat employable, you can go to Queensland anytime you like and work in civil. Might be a bit hot and warm, but and definitely you can do FIFO. I've actually been lucky enough to sort of live in and around Coburg for my whole life, and I've worked in town and around town. I've worked on the Westgate Freeway on 3 upgrades, the Tullamarine Freeway on 3 upgrades. I'm doing rail crossings right where I live now. So I've been able to sort of make a good living in an industry I like without going too far. Having said that, I went to Adelaide for 3 years and did a freeway job when I was working for Lendlease. And that was probably the only time I've worked away from home, but that was by choice. And just living on the beach in Adelaide and doing working on a job I quite enjoyed. So yeah, you can definitely travel with the work. There's no question about that. Yeah. So there's opportunities. If you want to live in a different part of Australia, for example, when you're 30 years old and you've got that skill set, you take it with you. You'll be working, guaranteed, and you'll be able to have a look if you want to be there and settle down there for 12 months and have a look around. It might suit you for your change of scenery, or you might want to come back. But either way, civil skills and the civil background is very versatile industry to work in.
Have we got any other questions for Jim? No, I don't think so.
No.
Nobody's asked about money, Jim.
Money. That's why we get out of bed in the morning. At the end of the day, look, the money varies from just an average wage with a small landscape gardener, or I couldn't even tell you what they're paying at the moment. But certainly the blokes on the ground I work with and girls are on a lot of money, a lot more than what they should be. So nothing like being overpaid. And they certainly, once you get into the bigger jobs, they're more unionised. There's enterprise bargaining agreements, and there's baselines of pay that are very lucrative. And every hour after 8 hours is double time, and every hour of night shift is double time, and every hour of Saturday is double time. So they get travelling allowance, side allowance, you get redundancy schemes. So yeah, look, there is if you can create the path for yourself, which I think is within anybody who really wants it. Certainly there's a really good living to be made out of it. Do I talk numbers, or is that going to scare people?
Go for it.
Well, my son works on the Monash Freeway. He's a carpenter, but he doesn't work as a carpenter. He works as a labourer, doing pavement makeups, curbing, and all that sort of stuff. And I think he's taking home a bit over 3,000 clear a week for 54, 56 hours. So it's quite a long week, but it's a lot of money. He gets an RDO every second Monday, so we can party up on that weekend. But he's pretty much head down, bum up, making good money. But he likes it. He really likes it.
Terrific, mate.
Mm.
Well, hang on.
Here we go.
We've got Catherine. Oh, that's Catherine. Yeah, wrong profession. Yeah.
Oh,
it's fantastic. It's
I know.
Talking about wrong profession.
Unfortunately, once you move into my sort of role, you're on less money than these guys are anyway. It's like it's a bit funny where you're in control of everything. Who's there, who's not there, and yet they're all on a lot more money than me. So that's just the way it is. It's trade unionism and all that sort of stuff. Good on them. Half their luck.
So, Jim, sorry, go, Sylvia.
I was just going to ask a quick question, Jim, just about what sort of things you're looking for, I guess, in young people who are joining the workforce. I guess you sort of obviously most people would be 17. 17's now the legal leaving age, which is usually year 11. But yeah, do you have many? We have got quite a few students thinking about leaving school early. I was just wondering, how many young people you have sort of joining and what the average age is, or if you're looking for basic, like, do you want to see basic year 10 maths or basic sort of year 11 maths, that sort of thing?
I think there's not much focus put on education accreditation, like at all. And in the tier one, so they call our industry tier one. So if you're building big things, 300, 400 million, 5 billion, whatever you're on, there's no young people at all. They start showing up at about 25, and it's very competitive. So, but that's when the cash register starts clicking type thing. So the idea is that you go to the smaller suburban contractors who are looking for muscle and for labouring people on their landscape, doing landscaping or doing water mains or whatever. You really have to poke in and around, and that's where you start. You build yourself up there, and you learn so much there that by the time you are 25, you are ready to go into those jobs, and whatever you're asked to do, you'll sort of have that in your skill set. So
yeah. And how should people maybe approach those smaller jobs? Like, is it, creating a network or finding, asking people who you know, or are they advertised on Seek, that sort of thing?
They don't advertise a great deal, I don't believe. I'm sort of fair way removed from that these days. So, but I remember being that person, that's for sure. I think you just have to go through Seek and just stay online, but also bang on doors, get a CV going. But certainly approach if you're going to approach an employer who's only got 2 or 3 or 4 people, just say, I really want to get into civil. I really want to get in there and learn, and give me a go. Yeah, give me a go. So,
and I'd imagine, Jim, if you've got some tickets like a, Bobcat license and front end loader, all of that sort of stuff, forklift, the whole, that'll make you more attractive. Yeah.
Well, the first aid.
It all helps, but by the same token, employers will look at the tickets that you've got, and they still want to know if you can actually do it. Like, so it's one thing to do a TAFE course and be able to pull the levers up and down and make the bucket go up and down. All right, and you've got a license. It's another thing to make the thing dance, and you'll never learn how to really make those things whistle working. Sort of in my end of the industry, that happens before you get to us. So that's why it's important to probably not look at the actual dollars and cents you're probably making the first 6 or 7 years, as long as it's enough to get by. But look at what you're picking up, and you've got to build up. You've got to build yourself up, and the way to do that is to probably go with the smaller companies, and then just they'll give you the opportunities because they have to get their jobs built. And whereas like guys that drive, we don't teach people how to drive operate excavators on level crossing jobs. They roll up and they're very skilled. So it's a slow burn. But once you get there, it's very lucrative. It just takes a little while to get there, but you get paid while you do it. So, and you can change jobs as often as you like, because there's always plenty of work around. So, it's an industry that it's always been. There's no apprenticeship as such, really. So it's been a little bit unregulated, but now it's just been regulated by accreditations and tickets and experience. So it sort of self-manages itself, really. So, I mean, I've got 3 Cert 4s and different stuff I've picked up along the way, OH&S, in civil construction, frontline management, things that my employers have put me through over the years, actually. So you do reach a point, once you sort of get to that tier 1 stage, they start training you and start investing money in you. But it's and the other thing is, and worth noting, is that it's a funny industry in as much as the money's become so good on the big jobs that we can't find people to step up and become supervisors. So it's at an interesting stage where people just want to stay on wages and all that sort of stuff, and not step up to. So there's always opportunities for people who want to step up and take responsibility and want to control and build projects. So, and they'll always be there. So if you're keen to have a career, like a challenging and interesting career, there's endless options, really. It's just so varied. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jim. I think
no worries at all. I hope
no more questions. I think thanks for your time today. Just give us a bit of an insight into civil and
you could probably, if you wanted to sort of build off this discussion, you could probably look at someone like a landscape gardener or a small civil operator, someone who's got their own small civil operation, and he'd probably offer a little bit more of what he looks at when a kid comes banging on his site shed and wants to know if he can have a job or not. And he'd probably have, that's where I was 30 years ago type thing, and sort of now I'm sort of in the shiny land of big major projects and all that sort of stuff. So, but he'd
Yep.
probably offer a more modern version of what it's like to sort of step in and how to get yourself off and running, really. Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess the fundamentals there have got to have that resume, got to have that bit of front to talk to people and,
Yep.
and get onto it. So
Yep.
got to start somewhere. So
Yep.
thanks
Absolutely.
again for your time, Jim.
No worries at all, Tom.
Very, very